This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we're on Chelek Dalid, Perek Dalid, Ot Zion, which is part 4, chapter 4, by the paragraph 7. We started this last week. We'll get our traction and keep on going. And we've been discussing, of course, the Kriyat Shema. Now he's going to bring us into the realm of the verse that we say afterwards quietly, Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso Leolam Va'ed. Blessed is the name of the honor of his kingdom for all eternity. Or Baruch actually means to increase. May the honor of his kingdom be increased for all eternity. What is that referring to? That pasuk is not found in the Torah. It's found in the Medrash. We'll see all about it now. In addition to this tremendous effect of this first pasuk of Shema, Yitchaber, there is joined, there is a second aspect, Tikkun Acher, another Tikkun, another tremendous rectification. That's included in the praise that we say afterwards, which is Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Liolam Va'ed. Blessed be the name of his kingdom's glory forever and forever. Vizet Kine Kvar Be'arnu. We already explained again. That's not found in the Torah, right? But it has become an established part of our recitation of the Shema. Now we already explained sheklal kol hashpaot yitbarach v'arotav hem inyanim nimshachim b'mesibot shonot, right? So we've already explained how all of the light, influence, glory, illumination that comes down to us from Hashem comes about through all these different means. V'kulam nishrashim, but they are all have their shoresh, their root, their origin, v'nitlim, and they're all dependent b'yichudo, emanating from yichudo yitbarach, from God's oneness, ushleimuto amiti, and his true perfection. V'nei anivraim mitnagim b'gilgulim shonim, right? Who's having some bounce back? So until you speak, you need to mute.
Okay, I'll go on mute. Is it me? It's weird, but fine.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We are guided, we are driven, so to speak, right? Like a nahag, through these different effects, these different roundabout chains of events, he calls it here, based on all of these influences and their means. Of course, the ultimate goal, the ultimate end of all of this is that we should reach the Shleimut Amiti, the world should reach a point of perfection. Kulam Gazra Chacham Yonah, because God's wisdom decreed, Shelo Yimashech Legia Yishtalem Labruim, Al Yidei Kol Masibot Ha'ela, V'achal Kol Giguleihem. Right? All of this comes about through all these chains of events, and we need to be the ones who are setting it in motion. Since all of it comes back to that oneness of God, everything depends on him. And all of these influences are only branches that come out from that oneness of God. And these are all ways, pathways through which we can reach Hashem. Being that the intent of that first pasuk is to attribute everything, to make dependent everything on that oneness of God, then everything else is also dependent on that. And everything comes back to that shleimut that we mentioned. So once we're attributing everything to God, it's all starting there. Then the result now, that which will come down to the bruim, to the creations as a result, is sheyashresh shmo aleihem. Hello, Robin, if you hear us. So this is where we actually left off last week. And that is that God will place his name upon us. V'tisdabek bam kedushato. And God's holiness will davak. Devek is glue in modern Hebrew. Litabek will cling, will stick to us. Hit dabkut gadol, a tremendous, tremendous close connection. V'yishlot bam, and God's oneness will rule over us. V'yamshichein acharav tamid, and it will constantly draw us after him. V'yimatzu chulam nitlimbo, and the result is that we're all dependent upon him. Umishtalmim bishle, or hanging upon him. Umishtalmim bishle muto, and we reach our shlemus, our perfection, through this connection to his shlemus. V'zehu hamatzav, and that is the state, that is, the ultimate state. She'agilo be'emet b'sof kol hagilgulim. This is the state that will reach after all of the cycles, after all of the events, after all is said and done. That's what we will reach. V'hinei biyosam kach, when this will be the crown. Nimsa, the result will be, Uzi, we're bouncing back, sorry.
Sorry. I don't understand why, but I will mute again. I was going to make a comment.
That is when God's will, his chayfetz, the ultimate will, the basic underpinning will for which everything was created, naasa, will be done. Uchvodo mitgadel, and his honor will become great. V'zeh ikar hatara, and that is the crown, the main crown, shuhu mitater, that God gets crowned bivruav, through his creations. V'chaviyachol mitgadel bam, right? And so to speak, kaviyach, as if to say, it's hard to say these words, he becomes greater, he waxes great through us, through the crown that comes through us, through our actions, through our connection to him, through our becoming shalem, perfected by him. But when is this? As we turn the page, vamnam ata, now, presently, ein hadavar hazeh mishtalem. This perfected state is not found ela beruchanim, only in the spiritual realm, by the spiritual beings. Kinehem tahorim, they are pure. Ukadoshim, and they are holy. Ushmo yivarach shora alehem, and God's name fully rests upon them. Umit kasher bam, and connects to them. Hit kashrut gadol, a tremendous connection. Vehem nimshachim acharav, and they are pulled after him. B'chol eit, every moment, b'chol shar, every time. Uchvodo mitgadel bahem, and God's honor is increased through them, but they don't have the free will, and therefore that's not the true crown. But this is found by them. Remember the Spielberg film, Close Encounters of the Third Kind? Everyone was being drawn to this mountain, has this Sinai aspect to it. Everyone being drawn to the mountain, the sense that there is something beyond over there that they can access. So that is what happened by Mount Sinai, and that is the state, the constant state in the Olam Ruchani, in the spiritual realm. That's why an angel is called in Hebrew a malach. A malach is simply a messenger, because it does the will of God that sends it. And therefore there is this full expression of God's will in the Olam Ruchani. Ach, betachtonim, but once we enter the lower realms, the physical realms where you and I are, ein hadavar nishlam. There the matter is not complete, is not fulfilled. Me'she'enam adayin shleimim, because we are not yet reached this point of this perfection. V'hara mitarev bahem, and evil, Ra, is all intertwined with us, in our world, in our actions, in our thoughts. Below hi taharu mimenu. We have not yet been fully purified from it. And therefore, God's honor is not fully increased as it should be through us yet. V'hinei hamalachim, in that heavenly realm, mitzad hatikun shehem bo, because of this tikkun, this ultimate level that they are at, mishabchim shevach zeh, they give this, they utter this praise. Baruch, Shem, Kvod, Malchuso, Leolam Va'ed. Blessed be the name of his kingdom's glory forever and forever, because they have reached in their realm. That is the case where God's kingdom's glory is just pervasive. Achatachtonim, but we down here in this world, where we are cramping the style, where we are limiting the kavod malchuto, we are limiting the honor of God's kingdom. It's very stunted here in this world. So we're not able to utter that praise. Ki einam ru'uyim lazeh. We're not worthy of that. Below Hashem shora aleim karaoi. God's name is not on us at that full capacity that it's meant to be. Below hakavod mikadel bam. And we do not increase God's honor fully to the degree that we ultimately will. But at this point, we're not yet there.
Yeah. Rabbi, let me ask you. So, I go to shul every day, mincha and mariv, every day, consistently for the last how many months. And I always say, Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto L'olam Va'ed. It sounds to me that the rabbi is telling us that it is the angels who were saying this saying, and that saying is pure. But when we say it, because we are tachtonim, and given that we still have the devil in us or the Satan in us, it's not as pure as the malachim when they say it. It's pretty upsetting.
Yeah, well, I think it's describing the reality. In other words, the angels can properly say the kavod malchuto, right? The glory of God's kingdom is fully there. They can say that. In their realm, it's fully there. In our realm, it's not fully there. We each are doing our best to increase it and to bring it to that point, but we can't yet say it because that's not the case. It's not fully, we'll say it. We'll say it quietly. We'll soon discuss. But it's not yet. Oh, Robin, you hear us now or just see us?
I can hear you now and I see you.
Good. Okay, good. Welcome. Right? So for us to say it, and let's take the next two little paragraphs to finish Zion. I think it'll help clarify it a little bit. Eli Yaakov Avinu Alav Shalom. Yaakov, Jacob, the patriarch. Zacha kvar lezeh be'epitirato min olam. He merited that at the time that he was leaving this world. V'yotom kol banav hakadoshim svivav. All of his holy sons were around him. That there was no disqualification, there was no blemish in them. Avram had a Yitzchak, had a Yishmael. Yitzchak had a Yaakov, had an Esav. Yaakov, we say mitato shlema, his bed was complete, was perfect. And he was crowned with this oneness of God, where they all said Shema Yisroel. Va'az ana zakein, and then he, the elder, was able to respond, Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. He was able to respond that. See, he, at that point in his life, with the point that he had reached, that they were all at, he was able to pronounce it out loud. V'nimsa shemitzidenu, but what us, from our perspective, ein anu ru'uyim le'inyan hazeh. We are not yet fully there for this this inyan, this praise. El ktsat mimenu nitan lanu, but a little bit of it is given to us, mitzido shel Yaakov Avinu alav hashalom, right? Right? Because of the merit that we have from Jacob, Yaakov Avinu, we have it. Akenu omrim oto, ach b'chashai. Therefore, what do? We say it, but we say it quietly, right?
Yeah,
Because
but
not,
Rabbi, you know,
one second,
tell you,
let's finish first. It's not
okay,
yet this open revelation. Zulat b'Yom Kippurim. Where's the exception? On Yom Kippur. Shemit alimbo Yisroel madrigat malachim, where we ascend to the level, to this angelic level, as we'll explain in this place. So on Yom Kippur, there we're able to shout out Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso Li'olam Va'ed, because at that point in time we touch that point, but then we recede back afterwards, and we're back to saying it quietly until the time of the ultimate Geula, where then once again it'll be pronounced fully, in a full-throated manner. Yes, Uzi.
Rabbi, I am surrounded with people who don't believe in Hashem. I cannot name to you one person that does around me as far as my circle, right? Fine. But nevertheless,
You got
I
to
put
widen
my,
your circle, Uzi.
it is what it is. They're all good people. A Jew is a Jew, and I love all Jews,
Yeah.
even regardless.
I'm
Okay.
not saying to replace. I just said to widen.
I'm trying. I'm more trying to widen. I'm trying. So
Okay.
so every morning I said Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto L'Olam Va'ed, and when I say it, Rabbi, believe me, I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart. When I say that, I'm not talking to God. I'm talking to all these people who don't believe. And I disagree with the Ramchal. I have no Satan in me when I say that. In other
No, but your world is filled with a lot
words,
of
it's so
as you're
pure.
saying, you're the only one in your
Every
circle of
every
friends who believes in
morning,
Hashem. First of
you
all,
know.
I hope I'm part of your circle of friends, Uzi, but we'll let that go for a moment, right? But if you yourself are saying that you're alone in that group that you have over there, so then clearly the Kavod Malchuto is in a stunted state. If it's you against that whole circle, then clearly
Yes. So
the glory of Hashem's kingdom is in a contained, stunted, not full regalia state. And therefore, it's not for us to shout it out,
fine.
it's for us to murmur it and hope that it will pierce the minds and hearts of those in our circle.
Okay. Yeah. My connection is pretty bad. Can you guys hear me?
We hear
Yeah,
you.
your mouth moves and nothing comes out. And then you're frozen and something comes out. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Anyway, I feel I was frozen. Because the Ramchal is talking about my connection with the Almighty. And he's suggesting that
No,
my
Uzi.
connection, I'm not talking about my circle. They are lost.
Ramchal is talking about the Tachtonim, this physical world's connection to Hashem.
I
And
am.
when we look at this physical world, Kavod
I am
Malchuto
Tachtonim.
is certainly stunted.
Okay, I give myself the benefit of the doubt that I may not understand fully what Kevod Mechoto means, but I'm doing my best
Yeah,
every morning.
and that's beautiful. But when we look around our world, we recognize Kavod Malchuto is not where it needs to be. And
Oh, you
therefore,
better
in this
believe it. Oh
world,
my God.
sorry,
Uh, yeah, absolutely. You could not
that's what
be
he's
more
saying.
right than that.
That's what he's saying. We look around, we don't see Kvod Malchuto, and therefore it's not for us to shout out Kvod Malchuto. The time will come where Kvod Malchuto will be so pervasive that it'll be like in the heavens. That'll be the time. On Yom Kippur, we can shout it out. But besides that, Yaakov Avinu at the end of his life was able to shout it out. There was that Kvod Malchuto. In our world today, unfortunately, there is not.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Now I understand and I feel okay now.
Okay, good. Let's continue to paragraph 8, Chet. V'amnam, shara parashiot, the other parashiot, the other paragraphs of Shema, hinehein hashlamat ha'inyan, they all come to complete this. V'nichna le'inyan, and that includes shlosha ikarim, 3 basic concepts. V'heim, which is number 1, Kabbalat ol malchuto v'avato, the acceptance of God's of the yoke, the responsibilities of His kingdom, v'avato, and loving Hashem.
The yoke.
The yoke, right? The responsibilities of His kingdom and loving Him. Kabbalat ol mitzvot, accepting the yoke, the responsibility, the obligation of the mitzvot. And lastly, Zechirat Yitziat Mitzrayim, mentioning the Yitziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus from Egypt. Let's hear now how he breaks it down. Har Parsha Rishona, the first paragraph of the Shema. Bayit Kavein Adam, there a person has the kavanah, has the focus, the mindset, lihitchazek, to strengthen oneself, ba'avato yitbarach, in our love for Hashem, b'chol t'na'eha, in all of its t'na'im, all of its conditions. Dahainu, hello Alex, how are you?
Hello, Rabbi Ciner. I'm just testing the connection. I know we're joining at 7, right?
That's the plan. You're welcome to join now also,
Okay.
whatever you like. Okay.
I'll see you at 7. Thank you.
I'll see you at 7. Dahainu b'chol levavcha, which is, as we say, with all of our heart, ub'chol nafshecha, all of our soul, ub'chol miodecha, and with all of our assets, all of our might. Ulamshich ha'rak l'shatoi barach, to bring down that light of God's holiness. V'ol malchutoi barach. I need to get a drink of water. Pardon me 1 minute. Sorry. Starting not just to look like, but also starting to sound like an old man.
You don't look like an old man.
Amen.
Okay, to bring down, so that's what we said, with all of your heart, with all of your soul. We discussed the willingness to give up your life. And actually on Shabbos, we discussed this a little bit during the drush on Shabbos, that even though we might not be in a position to give up our life, but whenever we're willing to give up on a temptation that we have, and to overcome that temptation and not give in when it's a wrong temptation, that is a mesirut nefesh, that is a certain giving up of some of our life, so to speak. And all of our might, meaning all of our assets, right? Ulamshich, and then to bring this, to extend this illumination of God's kedusha and ol malchuto livanav, to our children, ulechol tzaav, and to all of our descendants. V'hainu, as we say, vishinantam levanecha, to teach it to our children. V'litakein b'chol b'chinot matzavo shel ha'adam, and also to apply this and in all the different states and stages that we have. As we say, v'dibarton, you discuss it, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, when we're sitting in our house, u'v'lechtecha v'derech, and when we are walking, traveling on the way, u'letakein b'chinat habayit shelo, and also to establish our house in such a manner, as it says, "Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha," that we inscribe it on the doorposts of our homes and our gates, and that, of course, is what's inside that's the mezuzah, right? It's not the decorative box; it's the scroll. It's the scroll that's inside, right? And with that, we're supposed to remember as we walk out of our house, as we enter the world, as we come into our house, to always remember to keep this focus of what it is that we're supposed to be doing, which is bringing down this illumination of Hashem. That is the first paragraph. The achakach Uzi, either you're bouncing back or you got to talk. You can't breathe. Uzi.
No, I was
You
just going to
talk,
say
you
that
talk,
the
stop
mezuzah,
breathing, one or the other.
you know, just to bring it down, these are lofty words of the rabbi. And essentially what he's saying is that we put the mezuzah on a doorstep so that we go into our house from the public domain into our private domain. We kiss the mezuzah and we're saying to ourselves, you know what? Now that I'm in my private domain, I'll do whatever I want. Nobody watches. That's not.
Yeah,
And when you
yeah,
go out of your house to the public domain, you kiss the mezuzah, you still have to behave according to God's ways. And that's the
yeah,
whole point.
yeah. To take it with us wherever we go. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Paragraph
Yep.
9 is now the second paragraph of the Shema. Discusses the paragraph of Ayah Shamoa. V'achakach, afterwards, Makavel alav, all mitzvot. We accept upon ourselves the yoke, the responsibility of mitzvot. That's bit in the parsha, in the paragraph of Vayah im Shamoa. V'achakach, and then after that, Mazkir. Now, both of those are in Devarim, in Deuteronomy, those first two parshiot. Then we go to Bamidbar for the third parsha of Shema, and we mention Yitziat Mitzrayim. We mention the Exodus from Egypt, and that's found in the parsha of Tzitzit, talking about the fringes that we wear on four-cornered garments. Bahainu, and that is Kine Yitziat Mitzrayim Hayatikun Gadol. Yitziat, the Exodus from Egypt, was a tremendous rectification that took place. Shinit Kanobo Yisroel, a tremendous transformation, uplifting transformation that we, the Jewish people, went through. V'nishar hadavar lenetzach, and that transformation is eternal. And therefore, even though we are now thousands of years after that Exodus, we mention that Exodus on a daily basis to remind ourselves, and we'll see also to instill in ourselves the element of that transformative, of that fundamental transformation that we went through. Let's hear what that's about. V'hainu, and that is.
Wait, Rabbi,
Yes, Susie.
I was just going to say that in the Haggadah it says, if God was not going to take us out of Egypt, then we would still be slaves in Egypt. Who would have saved us?
Yeah, yeah,
That's how big that thing is
yeah,
that he did.
yeah.
That's all.
And there are those that explain that, meaning that we never would have been able to go through the transformation. We need to go through the Egypt and then the Har Sinai transformation. And had we remained there any longer, we would have become completely swallowed up by the society there, and would not have been able to have reached the level that we needed to reach, and
That,
thereby get to the ultimate level speedily in our days.
that's how big that is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
V'hainu, as he explains now, ki mi'achar chedesh Adam Harishon, as a result of after the sin of Adam, nishar ha'anashiyot kulo mekulkal, humankind was in a mekulkal, was in a degraded state, as we mentioned earlier, chelik rishon. V'ya'ara mitkaber bekulo, and the Ra was waxing stronger. Ad shelo haya makom nimsa makom latov shechasek klal. There was almost no place for tov to take hold, to gain any strength. Even though Avram was separated, that he and his descendants will be different than the other nations, we're still not at a point that we can be considered to have this entity of a nation, and thereby merit the crown, so to speak, that we were worthy of having. Mehara, because of the Rashi and Machshich Aleim, because of the evil, the Ra that was still darkening us. Vazuma Rishona, and that original Zuhama, stench, pollution, so to speak, which we had not yet left us. It was required, is necessary, for us to be exiled to Egypt, sham, and to be subjugated, enslaved there. And through that shibud, hagadol yitzorfu chazahav b'toch hakor v'itaru, like gold that goes through a smelting process, and all of the impurities are burned off, and then you have your pure gold. That is what we went through. When the proper time came, God strengthened his influence, his illumination on Israel, and subjugated, repelled, right, overwhelmed the Ra, v'ivdil otam mimenu, and separated them, us, from it. V'romeim otam, and lifted us up, min hashiflut, from that lowliness, Shayuba, that we had, v'ha'elam elav, and brought us up to him, capital H, to God, v'nimtzu ge'ulim min hara gulat olam, and the result is that we were redeemed from Ra, this eternal redemption. Umisham v'halahukmu l'umma shlema, and that point we became a complete, entire nation. Duvuka bo yitbarach mitateret bo, clinging, attached to God, and I like the English, crowned or ennobled by Him.
Yeah.
This is a tikkun, a rectification that took place, that it is la'olamim, forever. It is permanent. V'chol tovot she'igia, shemagia lanu kulam tluya bo, and all the good that we've received and we are destined to receive is all dependent on that event, that process, that smelting process that led to the Exodus from Egypt. And that's who we are today, all the good that we've received and all that we will receive, and therefore nitztavenu, liskoroto tamid. Therefore we have to always remember it. Ulazkiro befinu, not just remember it in our mind, but to mention it with our mouths. As he's been saying throughout, our actions down here have a reaction that reflects. So by our mentioning that, that strengthens the very effect of that Yitziat Mitzrayim. Mitchazeka tikunahu, that strengthens that tikkun, that rectification, aleinu, on us, in us, as a part of us. Umitametz ha'or banu, and the light is strengthened The light that is in us is strengthened. Umatmid banu hatoelet hanimshach min hatikum hahu. And that way we bring about a strengthening and a consistency of the benefits that pulls from that is constantly flowing to us. So we need to keep that pipeline open. How do we keep that pipeline open? By our mentioning that Yetziat Mitzrayim, because that is what brought us as a nation up to a whole different point.
Yeah, I
Now,
think, Rabbi, I think
yes,
a little bit of background to this is necessary
okay.
because, I mean, the rabbi is talking to people who already know a lot of background. And so it turns out that in Egypt, we almost ended up with 49 levels of impurity. And nevertheless, what saved us was that we still spoke Hebrew in Egypt. At the same time, we still wore Jewish clothing. And one more thing that I forget.
Jewish names.
Yes, but we were so close to be lost. Nevertheless, those things were enough for God to save us and redeem us and so on. And that's a
Nice, Susie.
message of how compassionate God is. So God is not, He is a loving God. He's compassionate God. He's not there to accuse you and reprove you. The opposite.
Nice.
He's there to love you.
I once heard a
And
nice
that's,
thing about Uzi from my Rosh Hashiva, Yaakov Weinberg. And the question can be asked, on one hand, as Uzi said, we have the teaching that we reached the 49th level of impurity, and had God not saved us in that minute, we would have been swallowed up and completely gone. And yet we refer to it as a purification process. So is it a purification process, or were we on the 49th level of Tumah? So in terms of the environment around us, it had brought us down. But at the same time, there was an aspect that we had over there, which was that we learned shibud, meaning we understood that we need to, when you're a slave, you put aside your own will to follow the dictates, whereas before it was the dictates of a power-hungry Pharaoh looking for himself. But that brought us to the point that we were ready to accept the dictates of a loving God, where all the dictates are for our own benefit. And that is
yep,
that he explained that is the smelting process, the purification process. They were able to be in control and not do whatever we want. The anti Nike commercial. It's not sophisticated, right?
yep,
Okay,
yep.
gentlemen, ladies
Excellent.
and gentlemen, I'm going
Thank
to
you.
run to davening now. So let me
Yishar
leave
Koch, Rabbi.
closing off.
So nice to see
Wonderful,
everyone
Uzi.
again.
And Robin, how's your mom doing, Robin?
About the same.
At
About
the
the same.
same.
Okay.
Okay. At a
Yeah,
certain
thanks.
point, steady is also good.
Yeah, that's true. Hey,
Yeah.
Dolly.
Hi. Thank
Okay.
you, Rabbi.
I'm going to play.
Thank
You're very welcome, David. Have a good night, everyone.
Good to see you all, guys. Love you all. Take care and goodbye.
Yeah.